I was okay with the Khonshu piece being tied off. Like I personally am ready to be done with the Egyptian mysticism piece. Let's move on to other things. Doesn't seem like that's the way they're going to go with the character. So I'll have to make my peace with that.
50-50. I'm 50-50 on that. The way they left that off, they're like, okay, they killed Harrow, and now I think it's up for anything right now. Because, again, they left it off at such a weird spot. You're like, well, what am I going to do? Because he's still the Moon Knight.
Yep.
Jake is.
Yep.
Jake's now the Moon Knight. So it's like, who else is Khonshu going to go after? That's the question. Because in this, he was protecting the world from Ammit. But, like, now what does he think needs justice? Because he's obviously won his seat back in with the people of the Egyptian pantheon or whatever. So I'll be curious. I don't know.
Yeah. Overall, the show was fine. I'm glad that you have it as highly ranked as you do. For me, this is just personal preference thing. It's not that high, but it was well made.
Yeah.
I just wish that the misses would not have been so big. I don't think they need to be that significant. There's always going to be little nits to pick, right? Things you're going, that doesn't quite fit or feel right. These just seem like pretty big nits.
They were legit like cliffhangers.
Yes.
These are cliffhangers. Like, you don't leave off with that and then not tell us what's coming next.
I gotta say, that's exactly what I expected, though, because of how Loki concluded. I thought we've seen this before, where episode 5 of Loki ends, we're going, wow, there's a lot to cover here, guys. And frankly, even in freaking Hawkeye, episode 5 ends, we're going, wow, there's a lot that they haven't concluded. This is now a pattern with these shows where they are not. The most recent shows, Loki, Hawkeye, and now Moon Knight, are not getting their business taken care of and sorted out by the conclusion of that 6th episode.
I see. I can defend Loki just because they did confirm we were going to get a season 2.
Okay.
I can't do it with the other two because you're right, because it feels like they just haven't figured out their pacing for their shows.
Yeah, taking too long to get to the big reveals, taking too long to get to Kingpin, taking too long to actually let Moon Knight freaking be Moon Knight.
It's pretty much, it's like a roller coaster ride, where you're going all the way up, and then instead of like it going, more, it just drops. It's like okay, let me take this back.
Do it.
Not a roller coaster ride. It's like the log ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You have all this build up, and then it's one drop, and then you're out.
Right.
That's what it is. It's the log ride. You're good.
Sorry, my guy.
It's just Miss Marvel. She can fall off for a little bit. It's okay.
Thank you.
Why is... Never mind. We'll focus on that later. But, yeah. So...
Yeah. So, anyway, big picture. We don't have to dwell on this topic for very long, because we do need to get into some Doctor Strange predictions.
Yes.
We're running long. We got a lot of good things. Big picture. My question is this expansion where we're getting more and more characters dropped into these stories, into this universe, is this a way... I know there's a lot of wish fulfillment here of, it'd be cool if we had this character in that show. Well, wouldn't it be cool if this character got their own show? Is that really what's best for the overall story? Because we're at a point where it seems as though the box is just open. Every character is a possibility for their own show, to be in a movie, so on and so forth. I'm worried we're losing part of what has made this run so special, that we're going to have a little bit of a diluted product here, that we're getting quantity well over quantity. And we've had a really unique run where we've had a heck of a blend of both quantity and quality, and it feels like we're just getting a lot of quantity, and the quality is not where it needs to be.
I think... I'm trying to think of how I want to word this. I think for them now, I think they have to really figure out, okay, is this character worthwhile? How well has this character done in, comics? and see where that lands. And I think the most important thing is, so you could look at characters like Moon Knight, where you're like, you know what, that guy, you should give him a show. Mm-hmm. He's a cool enough character that people could get behind, that there are those niche fans for Moon Knight. They're like, yes! And there's a lot of freedom with Moon Knight because there's been so many different things done with the character that people aren't going to be like,
that's a formula
upset.
We've seen work before, right?
Yes.
It doesn't have to be your A-list character. So agreed. I think the character in particular with Moon Knight, good choice.
Yeah.
Yep.
But then you have characters like, I think Echo is going to be a prime example.
Yep.
Echo was introduced in another show.
Yep.
She should not have had a show confirmed until they saw how well her character was received in Hawkeye.
Sure.
In my opinion, that is not a character that deserves a show at this point in time. Yep. Could she earn it? Yes. Because, let's be real, Black Widow not having a movie for as long as she did is kind of ridiculous. Mm-hmm. She could have had her own movie, or she could have benefited from a limited series.
Sure.
Right? Hawkeye, same thing.
Falcon and Winter Soldier is not a show that I think any of us initially would have said that we were excited for. But to your point, those characters were proven to be worthwhile over the course of many movies.
Correct.
So that now when the show is announced, we're going, you bet, we're going to eat that up. And we did.
Because they took the time to establish those characters, make them worthwhile.
Right.
People fell in love with Bucky Barnes after Winter Soldier, of course. How can you not? They fell in love with Falcon the same way.
Yep.
Like, you have all this time spent with these characters where you go to that point and you're like, you know what? I would watch that guy by himself.
Yep.
Tom Hiddleston's Loki, another prime example. To be honest,
that is a great example.
To be honest, Loki probably could have had his own movie too, and people would have went and watched because people love Tom Hiddleston's Loki.
Yep.
But to have
and that was a character that was outstanding in that format of that
sure.
TV show.
And look, Miss Marvel getting her own show, I'll give that to Marvel because Miss Marvel
for a different group.
Yeah, and Miss Marvel on top of that is popular in Marvel in her own right.
Yep.
So that one makes sense.
Right.
But I almost feel like they could have introduced her into the Captain Marvel movie first before giving her her own show, because I think she would have benefited more from looking up to her idol, getting the powers, and then going off and doing her own thing and trying to be... She could have been the equivalent to Spider-Man with Tony. Sure. That's what that equivalent relationship could have been. And so to get come on. Let's look at Sony. Why the hell are we getting all of these... Jordan, they announced an El Muerto movie. This is a character that has had 2 comic book appearances, as far as I know, as far as I've researched and seen. He's shown up in 2 issues. 2 issues. Do you know how many issues Spider-Man has had over the years? Thousands. And you're giving a movie to a character that no one gives an absolute flying fuck about. Are you kidding me? We're getting him before we're getting... Look,
so many
Kraven the Hunter.
So many others.
Kraven the Hunter, great character. Great character. I'm not going to take away from Kraven the Hunter. That dude should be in a Spider-Man movie before he should be in his own solo movie. Or I would have watched a Kraven show. I for sure would have watched a Kraven show. Not a movie. Why would I watch that movie? You have not built up Kraven the Hunter. There are certain characters that you can get away with not building up.
Yep.
Kraven is not one of them. A lot of these characters, they're getting to that point where their hand's been in the fishbowl. Okay?
Yep. They've
been getting goldfish after goldfish after goldfish, and now they're like, oh, well, there's a bottom feeder, there's a beta, and you're getting and there's a grouper. Why is the grouper in there? We don't know. And they're trying to figure out what tank to put him in, and it's like, maybe you just let it back into the ocean.
Analogy.
Why don't you let it back into the ocean? Let him swim away. I just don't get it. I don't get it at all. No. But that's what I think.
And that's where the balance is missed, right? Where the balance is struck, to your point, hey, this is where we're getting characters that have already been established that we now know, yes, we will take more of them, and we enjoy that. But the balance being missed is that quantity piece where, we just got to produce something, so we're going to pick this rando. Well, we don't know anything about them yet, and when you're not able to tell a great story with that character, that's just not worth it. You can't just throw CG onto a... We saw this with Morbius. Ton of CG, no story.
Again,
there has to be a reason to tell the story with that character. And if you've got that, then you've got a chance to have some pretty doggone special.
And Morbius should have shown up in something else before he showed up.
Right.
Because he did not have a prior strong enough fan base. And I think that's what you have to look at. You have to look at some of these characters and be like, look, they have not earned that yet. Mm-hmm. And that has nothing to do with Marvel not being able to establish a character or DC to establish a character.
Right.
But, like, let me ask you this. Would have you watched an HBO Penguin show if you would have never seen the Batman?
No way.
Absolutely
no way.
not. But because Colin Farrell kicked ass in that movie, they're like, okay, we could actually benefit from him having his own show because he's so good of a character and he's established it.
Right, because the people that are going to watch that show are the people that watch the movie first.
Exactly.
100%. 100%.
So I think that's just what it comes down to is, look, you can do a show or a movie about any character you want to do it, but make us
show them in the movie first.
Yes.
Right?
Show them in a movie with a character that's more prominent.
I agree. I think that's a big piece that's missing right now. And again, I think that comes back to, hey, they feel like, well, we got to put out all this content. You don't have to be in a hurry.
No.
You've got all of our money. You're going to keep getting it whenever you put this content out. You don't need to be in a rush at all. And people are still going to come to the Disney Plus platform, watch what you have on there. You do not need to be in a hurry to make original content for all these characters that we haven't even seen in any of these movies yet.